Heaven is this moment. Hell is also this. A Dharma talk by the Backyard Buddhist. There are some phrases that don't feel like something I invented so much as something that arrived while I was sitting quietly. One of those is this. Heaven is this moment, this thought, this word, this act. Hell is also this. I've been living with those words for quite some time now. The longer I sit with them, the more I realize they aren't really about heaven or hell at all. They're about the way we meet our lives. If Zen has taught me anything over the years, it's that we're constantly looking somewhere else for peace. We tell ourselves, I'll be happy when the bills are paid, when I'm healthier, when I find the right relationship, when I retire, when people finally understand me. There's always another destination. But the Buddha never pointed us toward another destination. He pointed here, to this breath, to this conversation, to this ordinary, unremarkable moment. Not because every moment is pleasant, but because this is the only place awakening has ever happened. When I was serving as a Christian priest years ago, heaven was often spoken of as something waiting beyond death. It was a promised destination, a place we hope to enter someday. Zen quietly turned that understanding inside out. Instead of asking, "Where will I go?" Zen asks, "Where are you standing right now? Am I standing in resentment, in fear, in greed? Or am I standing in gratitude, in compassion, in clarity?" Those aren't simply emotions. They're worlds. There's an old saying in Zen, the ordinary mind is the Wansen. When I first encountered those words, I didn't understand them at all. My ordinary mind felt anything but enlightened. It wandered. It worried. It judged. It planned tomorrow while replaying yesterday. But Nansen wasn't praising our distracted thinking. He was pointing beneath it. Beneath all the commentary is a simple awareness that's always been here. When we stop chasing experience, when we stop resisting experience, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. The warmth of a cup of tea, rain tapping softly against the window, the laughter of someone you love, the breeze moving through the leaves. Nothing magical has happened. Only our attention has changed. That's why I say, heaven is this moment. Not because every moment feels wonderful, but because every moment contains the possibility of awakening. Of course, the opposite is true as well. Hell isn't merely some mythical place hidden beneath the earth. Hell is what happens when we become imprisoned by our own minds. I've lived there. Maybe you have too. Someone says one careless sentence and we replay it for 3 days. One criticism becomes an identity. One disappointment becomes a life story. Nothing outside us has really changed, yet we've created an entire universe of suffering. The Buddha understood this with remarkable clarity. The Dhammapada begins with these words, "Mind precedes all phenomena. Mind is their chief. They are all mind-made." Dhammapada. Verse 1. Think about that for a moment. The quality of our experience isn't determined only by circumstances. It's profoundly shaped by the mind meeting those circumstances. There's a beautiful old Zen teaching story that illustrates this better than almost anything I've ever read. It's traditionally told about the Japanese Zen master Hakuin. Whether it happened exactly this way isn't really the point. Like so many Zen stories, it's true because of what it reveals about us. A samurai approached Hakuin one day and demanded, "Tell me, is there really a heaven and a hell?" Hakuin looked him over quietly. "Who are you?" "I am a samurai." "A samurai?" Hakuin replied with a smile. You look more like a beggar. What kind of lord would employ someone like you?" The samurai stiffened. His pride had been pierced. His hand moved to the hilt of his sword. Hakuin continued, "I doubt you even know how to use that sword." The insult was too much. With a flash of steel, the samurai drew his blade and raised it above the old monk. Hakuin never moved. He simply looked into the warrior's eyes and said, "There. The gates of hell have opened." The word struck deeper than any sword. In that instant, the samurai saw his own mind. He saw anger seize him. He saw pride control him. He saw how quickly hatred had become his master. Slowly, the sword lowered. His breathing softened. Ashamed, he knelt before Hakuin. The old master smiled warmly. "And there," he said, "the gates of heaven have opened." I love that story because nothing external had changed. The room hadn't changed. The weather hadn't changed. Hakuin hadn't changed. Only the condition of the samurai's mind had changed. Heaven and hell appeared within a few heartbeats. That's exactly what I mean when I say heaven is this moment, this thought, this word, this act. Hell is also this. Every moment places a gate before us. Which one opens depends largely upon the mind that walks through it. Thich Nhat Hanh expressed this beautifully. The present moment is filled with joy and happiness. If you are attentive, you will see it. Notice he doesn't say every moment is pleasant. He says every moment is filled with life. We're simply too distracted to notice. We're almost always somewhere else, living tomorrow, reliving yesterday, rarely arriving today. Dogen Zenji wrote, "To study the Buddha way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be actualized by the 10,000 things." I return to those words often. Forgetting the self doesn't mean erasing our personality. It means loosening our grip on the little narrator in our heads, the one constantly measuring, comparing, defending, and worrying. When that narrator quiets, even briefly, something extraordinary happens. Life simply becomes itself. The wind is only the wind. Birdsong is only birdsong. Tea is only tea. Nothing is missing. Several years ago, I found myself sitting quietly in my own backyard. There was no profound meditation experience, no mystical vision, just a cup of tea, a tree moving gently in the breeze. One of my cats stretched out nearby without a care in the world. For a few precious moments, nothing needed fixing, nothing needed improving. There wasn't anywhere else I wanted to be. Looking back, I think that's why I eventually named this ministry the Backyard Buddhist. Awakening wasn't hiding on a mountaintop. It wasn't waiting inside some distant monastery. It had been quietly waiting in my own backyard all along. There's another Zen saying I've always loved: when walking, just walk. When sitting, just sit. Above all, don't wobble. How much of life do we spend wobbling? We're eating while thinking about work, driving while replaying old arguments, listening only enough to prepare our next response. We're almost never fully where our bodies already are. Zen keeps calling us home, again and again and again. That's why the Bodhisattva path isn't built only upon grand heroic acts. It's built upon this conversation, this kindness, this apology, this patient response, this willingness to forgive. Heaven is built exactly this way: one thought, one word, one act. Hell is built the very same way: one harsh sentence, one moment of greed, one refusal to let go, one resentment carried for years. The Buddha called this karma, not divine reward, not divine punishment, simply cause and effect unfolding naturally. Every thought plants a seed, every word waters one, every action shapes the garden we're living in. Hakuin also reminded us, this very place is the lotus land, this very body is the Buddha. I've come to believe that's one of the most hopeful statements in all of Zen. It means we don't have to wait for another life. We don't have to become somebody else. We don't have to earn peace. We only have to stop running from the life already in front of us. So when I say heaven is this moment, this thought, this word, this act, hell is also this, I'm not making a statement about geography. I'm making a statement about awareness, about this life, this breath, this choice. Every moment quietly asks the same question: how will you meet me? With grasping or gratitude? With fear or openness? With judgment or compassion? Perhaps awakening isn't finally arriving somewhere we've never been. Perhaps awakening is finally arriving where we've always been. Here. Now. May we open the gates of heaven for someone today through a gentle word, a compassionate act, or simply by being fully present. And when we discover we've wandered into the gates of hell through anger, pride, or fear, may we notice it with honesty, lower the sword we've been carrying, and begin again. Because that's the beautiful thing about this practice. Every single breath is another gate. Gasho.